another episode of XenoChat. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, along with Justin.
Hey, everyone.
All right, we got two returning guests with us today. First up, we have Anthony.
How you doing, everybody?
And we've got B.
Hello, everyone.
All right, today's topic, we're gonna get back into Xenoblade 2 with a question that some other fans might have on their minds. What are flesh eaters? What are blade eaters? What's the difference? So we're gonna kind of get into that and educate ourselves as well as all of you on what the difference is, with as many details as we can from what the game gives us.
And the wiki.
Yeah, and the wiki. Thank you, XenoWiki.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very important concept to understand because this game's plot very heavily relies on the concept of flesh eaters and blade eaters, even though it never fully fleshes out.
Oh, I saw what you did there.
The concept and goes in and fully explains everything. It gives you enough that it kind of leaves enough to the imagination for you to kind of fill in the details and fill in the gaps. But it is a very important concept to understand because so much of this game revolves around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like the flesh eaters especially, they leave that very ambiguous. Maybe it's because of it's an age thing, like they don't want the rating to go up because if you think about it, flesh eaters kind of fucked up.
Yes.
But
right?
Yes.
But at the same time, it could also be one of those things where it sounds a lot more messed up because it's ambiguous, right?
It could be worse in our minds than it actually is.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. They never go over the steps as to how to make one. So that's kind of the beauty and the horror of it, is that it leaves, it leaves it up to your imagination and your interpretation. So it could be as simplistic and pleasant of a process, or as gruesome and horrific of a process as whatever your headcanon is. And because we have nothing to confirm or deny anyone's theories, you're all technically correct.
This is true. We again, we're not like the end all be all experts on this, so there might be some speculation on our part, but that's the fun.
Does anyone know if blade eaters and flesh eaters have a different name in the Japanese version?
I do not. But yeah, going back to what Tyler said real fast, heavy disclaimer, there's going to be a lot of theorizing. There's going to be a lot of speculation. Do not take anything that we say as doctrine. We're just throwing ideas at a wall here and talking about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if they have a different name in Japanese. So maybe flesh eaters and blade eaters are meant to be read in a different way. That's possible. But I couldn't tell you at this moment. Maybe one of you guys listening can let us know.
Yes.
Because who knows?
In the comments.
Maybe this is a localization thing. I don't know. But in any case, we could go over what are flesh eaters and blade eaters. Just give like a very basic definition of both.
All right.
So, yeah, I was just going to say we could start off with flesh eaters. They are basically blades with humanoid cells, right? Or whatever the human species of those titans are called. Actually, did Blade 2 ever have that? Like, you know how like in Blade 1 they were called Homs? Was there ever a name for just like the humans?
I think they just called them humans, which is funny because not all of them look like humans. Like the Orions don't really seem all that human-like. They seem a little alien. But yeah, throughout the game, it's just simply referred to as humanity.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Or where
which would make no, real quick. I got to go into this. Put out another disclaimer. Spoilers, by the way, for the ending of Xenoblade 2. But given what we know about Allrest and how Allrest is actually what remains of Earth after Science Boy, what was his name?
Klaus.
What? Klaus, yeah, that's it. After Dr. Klaus goes and like plays God mode and presses his make a new universe button, we find out that all rest is actually what remains of Earth, and that the world beneath the clouds is basically New York City. So it it it's like it's important to note that like the reason why they're called humanity is probably because that's what it is. Like it's the humanity of Earth or after Earth. Don't watch that movie. Um okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well
What were you
said.
gonna say, B?
Oh no, well said. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, back to definition of flesh eaters. Basically, they got blades that are infused with humanoid cells, right? And they can grant flesh eaters stronger powers, and they obviously don't need a driver to stay alive. And in some cases, flesh eaters are also known to have way prolonged lifespans. I don't believe it's immortality, but I think it's like
you're right. Mm-hmm.
it's not full on immortality, but it's a long time.
Yeah.
To the point where it may as well be considered immortality to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
oh, sorry. Go on.
no, you can say it. You can talk about blade eaters.
Okay. They're basically just. I mean, they're the inverse of that. They're basically humans that have been embedded with like a core crystal from a blade. So it's basically a similar concept, but it's different origins.
Yeah, and one of those is very much a massive social faux pas. People don't really look too kindly to flesh eaters. You'll notice in the game, when the term flesh eater is brought up, people tend to freak out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's often due to flesh eaters kind of having a bad rep due to them being a product of judicium experiments. Like we mentioned, Cole. Cole is a flesh eater, and he's kind of the product of their experiments. And you can see Cole, when you meet him, he looks like he's been through some shit.
Yes.
He has been.
Well, he was a Malthus's blade. I mean, you would look that way too if you were a Malthus.
Yes, but he probably looked significantly better before he became a flesh eater.
But Malos looks so good though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's all those
Malthus is an Aegis, he doesn't count.
It's all the experiments, man. However, though, we could talk about Nia. Nia still looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
Nia is in
Nia
fact
also like she does look good in her true form, but I also want to note that she does disguise herself as a Gormati most of the time, mostly to hide from society that she is a blade eater.
right,
Well,
but you're not.
Well, go on.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Or well, wait, no, I might be wrong about that.
Well, I was gonna say, like, we don't see the same kind of marks on Nia that you would have seen on, say, Cole.
Yeah, we don't.
So, but what's interesting about it is it's implied that Nia, was a flesh eater through possibly a different process than how Cole was a flesh eater.
Yeah, because remember he was a failed experiment. That's
exactly.
Failed experiment.
Yes, that's why he aged.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's old and
So
crusty.
Cole aged because it made him a flesh eater, but it didn't work as it should. So I guess that is what makes him technically a failure. Whereas with Nia, whatever process she went through to become a flesh eater was it was flawless execution. So that's why it seems to have worked with her.
And Jin.
Yeah.
Jin too.
Though, because what is it? Nia's father made her do it, I believe.
Yes.
And was her father in Judicium?
Well,
when we say father, do you mean her driver?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I think he was technically a lord in Gormont.
He was a lord, yes. He was a really wealthy guy.
His daughter was dying or something.
Uh-huh.
So
like
he was kind of like the sister of the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then once the daughter died, he had had Nia eat her basically and started calling her his new daughter.
Yeah. And another thing to mention is that, like, flesh eaters, one big difference between flesh eaters and blade eaters is that flesh eaters are pretty independent from the driver. I mean, they ate them, so they don't really need to be. Whereas blade eaters are still very much dependent on their driver. If a blade dies, or rather, if the driver dies, a blade eater will still die. I mean, we saw with like Nia, Dromark died once the Lord died, and Nia lived.
Yeah.
That being said, actually, no, yeah. That being said, however, there seems to be some weird stuff because, like, isn't a Malthus technically a blade eater, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big plot twists is that he was a blade eater and he had consumed half of Hayes's core crystal,
Right.
which was pretty fucking significant because like that gave him Hayes's power to nullify the abilities of other blades,
which we don't usually see in too many blade eaters, is that they get that power.
Mm-hmm. So that's and it is interesting that like when Hayes dies, a Malthus is still alive.
Correct, because the driver's life doesn't necessarily become dependent on the blades.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think I said this a bit wrong. So blade eaters, the driver and the blades, they can still coexist with each other. That's kind of what I mean by like they're still kind of dependent. They're still there, but I guess obviously if like the blade dies, then the driver could still be alive. But I guess if the driver died, then the blades would die too. I'm assuming that's how that works. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I'm not certain if it's because that would kind of fall.
Because this goes into the reason I want to mention this is because I'm going to bring this up again later for another one of our talking points.
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess like we could, and I guess you could think of like flesh eaters as them fusing together, since like you always end up with one entity, whereas blade eaters, both the driver and the blade can still coexist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I guess it's no, because in a normal blade driver relationship, if the driver dies, then the blade would go back into its core crystal. But in this case,
right,
the blade died, and
it's kind of hard.
Driver. Yeah,
it's kind of hard because we only have one example of it.
So what do you guys think of this? I just want to I thought of something neat to talk about real quick. A blade's life cycle, according to Gramps, I forget his real name.
Azurda,
that's it. So Azurda tells us that a blade eventually becomes a titan. And so in a way you could argue blades are titans, just baby titans. Or a pre-evolution of a titan, however you want to think of it. So what do you think of the fact that like what if a human like consumed the flesh of a titan or became like a titan eater or something like that? Like, do you think that sort of thing is possible? And like vice versa? I mean, I would imagine a titan's eaten a person before, so like I don't think there's going to be like a flesh eater once you're a titan in titan form. But like
some really bad indigestion.
I was gonna say that happened with Uriah, didn't it?
It does. It does, but we don't see anyone like die from that incident. It seems
weren't digested.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So I guess like my take on it, that's probably wrong, is I'm going to say nothing is going to happen if a human eats a titan or eats part of it. First of all, they're not going to eat a whole titan. That's just not happening. They might be able to eat a part of a titan, but I'm willing to bet that it would probably just be the equivalent of you going outside, getting a scoop of dirt and putting it in your mouth. It seems like it seems like most of the powers are relegated to the core crystals themselves.
Yes.
And that's what you would have to consume. So I guess if you consume a core crystal, you're technically consuming a Titan since the crystals come from the Titans, but yeah.
So then on that subject, do you think that that once a blade becomes a flesh eater, do you think that its life cycle of becoming a Titan is interrupted and it can no longer become a Titan, or do you think it still at one point would become a Titan?
That's a very good question, and I do not think the game addressed that one at all. But
No, it doesn't. It's just that's what I'm saying. It's fun to
yeah,
speculate. But
I'm willing to bet that I'm going to say no, and the reason why I'm going to say no is because I feel like when blades consume humans, it's interrupting the normal blade evolution process.
Exactly.
Right?
I feel the same way.
They're being corrupted by humanity.
Right, and then they're inheriting human traits. So, because as we had said earlier, like flesh eaters are not immortal. They have greatly expanded lifespans, but they're not immortal. So it's like
age. Oh, you're right. You know what? The game does in a way kind of tell us because Minoth aged. And
yes,
Minoth looks like he's going to pass away from old age, which means that he can't become a Titan.
Ooh. Again,
but that said, we don't know. We also don't know what's going to happen to Minoth if he dies.
That's also true. Yeah, they never actually.
Nope.
Watch them address this in Xenoblade 3. We have a Titan named Minoth. just to mess with us.
Just completely mess with us. Yeah, that would be awesome. Man, I would love to be wrong. I would love to see this whole idea fleshed out more because it's so fascinating. So you know how like people how flesh eaters like try to hide the fact that they're flesh eaters. I think there's also, you know, in addition to the fact that like there's you know, they have a bad rap and everything, there also seems to be like a societal taboo associated with it as well.
Yeah,
I think that's because when a blade turns into a flesh eater, I think it's a safe assumption that the blade has to consume the life of the human, because anytime we've ever seen a flesh eater made, it's resulted in the death of a human. The only mystery there is really Minoth, where we don't know how or what the process was. But in Nia's case, it resulted in death, and in
Jin.
B, who's the other one that I'm thinking of?
Jin.
Yes. Jin, when he consumed Laura also died. Now, mind you, both of those people were on their deathbeds to begin with, but I feel like it was more to give their deaths more purpose, since it seems that death is part of it to begin with. Again, entirely conjecture on my part, but I feel like one of the reasons why flesh eaters are kind of ashamed to, you know, be flesh eaters, or they hide that from society, is because it means that at one point they killed a human, and or a human that they were close to, and blades aren't supposed to do that.
Well, not just that, but also like they were straight up hunted.
Yes.
Like the folks from Indoline straight up used to hunt them.
Yep.
That was the reason why Nia was running away from them.
Interesting. Okay, so then that would explain it. So Indal kind of rules the world, right?
Yes.
And so you could even argue that there's like a religious taboo associated with becoming a blade eater, which is
because they look down on it, because I believe it was implied that they fear that the flesh eaters were going to attack the humans at some point.
I just need to correct myself real fast. I said blade eater, I meant to say flesh eater.
Yeah, I believe it was implied that the flesh eaters were they were destined to attack humans, and I believe that was part of the reason why they were hunting them down. It could also be because of the experiments as well, since a lot of those were done kind of underground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because Indal is responsible directly for a lot of modern day flesh eaters because of their experimentation. And then they go and they hunt them down to try and cover it all up. And I think that really just kind of drives home Amalthus's and the whole Indoline Praetorium's hypocrisy.
Yeah, I mean, they're the people who basically pioneered Blade Eater. So
yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which those, I mean, basically the Blade Eaters do not have as much of a negative connotation because, as we can see with Amalthus and Hayes, Hayes didn't have to die to give him part of the Soul Crystal.
And also, like, I guess you could see that the Blade Eaters was basically them succeeding at create, because at the end of the day, both Flesh Eaters and Blade Eaters, they're intended as military weapons. Like, it's for war, right? That's why they're doing this. But I think with the failed experiments of the Flesh Eaters, that's yet another reason why they're just kind of shunned and looked down upon, whereas the Blade Eaters are kind of like, oh, here we go. We actually did it right this time.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, this is a very heavy topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is, especially when you consider the emotional turmoil that the Blades go through during the process to become Flesh Eaters. And it's weird because, like, in Nia's case, it very much feels like she did not want to become a Flesh Eater, that she was made to by her driver or her driver's father. Jin, you could argue, wanted to and also did not want to, because Laura didn't want to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
So Jin did that, but also I think Jin didn't want to forget.
No,
No, he didn't, and he
not.
even kept the. I was gonna say, he even kept the body as a permanent reminder. Actually, funny enough, it's funny you should talk about, like, forgetting, right? So he eats Laura's heart, right?
Right.
Because he wants to preserve Laura's memories and he doesn't want to forget about her, right? So in Torna, Laura has a win quote where she mentions that her memories are in her heart.
That's right.
Oh, that's messed up.
That's
Takahashi, you sick bastard. I love you.
That's why when I wrote down in the notes, I said, is it the Blades eating the hearts? That's where I'm getting it from.
Yeah.
So gross.
So I did see a maybe it is a theory on Reddit where the scar on Jin's chest is that he might have actually like
transplanted it.
Transplanted,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
But
see, that's another interesting part about this is, like, the Blade Eaters is that we've seen a couple people who have, like, visible marks, like him and also Zeke as well.
Oh yeah, Zeke's got a hell of a mark.
Which, yes, he is a Blade Eater. When Pandoria saved his life, were they being attacked by, like, bandits or something, or
something like that? And then they were brought to Indal and had an operation to save his life.
Yeah, Amalthus just so happened upon Zeke as Zeke
and
lay
he was
dying.
having a good day too.
I just picture Dr. Nick from The Simpsons performing that procedure. Hi, everybody!
Hi, Dr. Nick!
Hi, everybody! Hi, Dr.
Nick! Oh my god. I can't unsee that now. Wandering upon.
I think that is going to be our picture for this podcast episode.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Either do that or have a picture of Troy McClure in front of a blackboard and just say Blade Eaters versus Flesh Eaters.
That's a good one too. This episode not brought to you by The Simpsons.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see.
But yeah, so the relationship between I know we touched on it a little earlier. The relationship between Blade Eaters and their blades is interesting because what I'm not 100% sure. Actually, no, we know for a fact that a Blade Eater doesn't result in the death of their blade. Correct. It just results in a part of their crystal.
Yeah.
being taken.
Uh-huh.
So I think this kind of would lead us to this to the raging debate. Would you say Rex is a blade eater?
No.
So Justin says no. Now tell me why you say no.
So one, the simple thing is nobody ever calls him one. That's one. Two, I know, sick argument, bro. Two, he shares pain with Pyra. What happens to Pyra happens to him.
Okay.
And they're both shown to have the same wounds, and that is shown in multiple cutscenes. None of the other Blade Eaters have that. Also, the way his core crystal, like the core crystal is split in a really weird way, in a way that's kind of unique to Rex. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think like Pyra's energy isn't even technically stored in that crystal. Isn't it like a backup or something like that?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like the Aegises have a completely different process, despite being similar. But yeah, ultimately, they exhibit very different traits and side effects from the traditional Blade Eaters.
Okay. B, what are your thoughts on it?
That's a tough question. My gut would say he's following the long lines of Zeke, so yes, he is technically a blade eater because his life is being saved by a blade.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
Jin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a toughie. I think maybe not exactly a blade eater because the Aegis's power is different from normal blades. So I'm gonna be a coward and say somewhere in between.
Okay. I'm with B on this one. I would argue that Rex is a blade eater, but I would also argue that because he's a blade eater of the Aegis, it affects him differently, such as giving him that shared pain that you don't get with most other blades. I would argue that he's definitely a blade eater because he's got a core crystal in his chest. I mean, if there's a checklist for what makes you a blade eater, Rex checks off everything on that list. The shared pain thing, I think, is a side effect of him being linked with the Aegis and how Pyra and Pyra, Mithra, and Malos, they're not like most other blades. There are a lot of exceptions to the rules.
But then, if they're not like other blades, then why are we calling them a Blade Eater?
Because they are blades. They're still blades. They're still technically.
Yeah, but we're like, what I'm saying is, you're saying they're not. So you're saying they're blades, except that they don't have very specific things that blades do have. Like, you know what I mean?
Would you be happy if we called it an Aegis eater?
Ultimately, that's what it is, I guess. But like, another thing is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the crystals are meant to change when you have a blade eater. The crystals change to be uniform, so they look a lot closer to it. That's not the case with Rex and Pyra at all. And I think Mithra made a comment to Fan about how the shape is not like a normal resonance. So like from their perspective, depending on whether or not they know what blade eaters are, so like they differentiate it. Like they have I gotta remember what that scene is. I remember there's a scene where they made a remark about how the way Fan is being resonated with is
and it's 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scene you're referring to is actually at Fan's funeral. When she's dying, Mithra, I believe, is talking to Bridget and is saying, "Did you notice that thing about her crystal?" And mentions to her how it looks like half of it was ripped out. Something along those lines, anyway.
And I think it's kind of tricky to mention, like, using Hayes as an example, because Mouth is probably just like, here's a saw, I'm going to cut it in half and shove half in myself. Like we did things.
he unga bunga the procedure.
Pretty much. Like if we look at Zeke, his core crystal's not split 50-50.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's weird. There doesn't seem to be any consistency when it comes to the the after effects of what the core crystals look like after you have a blade eater, and I would argue that's because the situation in which all blade eaters were born was different. I don't know what a Malthus's was, but I would imagine that a Malthus's was in a very controlled environment where there was nothing really at stake. With Zeke, he was on his deathbed, and Pandoria was desperate to save him at all costs, and
But
they
his was
had to.
also surgically done.
Right. Um. What else? Rex was, and like, if we're arguing Rex was also dying, and that also had
Right, but
He was pretty
I'm
much
also going to
dead.
say that it's probably not too far fetched to say that Blade Eater isn't the only way to extend someone's life in this world.
Yeah,
That's
could be.
possible.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if it really makes sense to consider them one and the same, because there are the differences there.
Your interpretation is your interpretation, Justin. I can't. I'm not. I literally have no ground to stand on to tell you that you're wrong.
I'm giving you a virtual high five.
Especially since, again, like I mentioned before, Pyra's power isn't even technically in that core crystal to begin with. So that core crystal that Rex has, that's not even where where it's even coming from.
Well, this might be incredibly wrong. But does she draw her power from the conduit, perhaps, or?
Yeah, because like
the core crystal kind of reminds me of the conduit for some reason.
It's the same shape.
Yeah, because what it is it's a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, when I think about it, I'm surprised I've never noticed that earlier, that the conduit and Pyro's core crystal were basically the same shape.
So is Malus's.
Malus's was also that way too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they all three of the Aegises have the same shaped core crystal.
And yes, the third.
Because they showed that, because even like the third one, when it was gone, it was like the same shape.
Yeah, it's all the same shape.
So needless to say, what we have to look forward to is when Alvis makes his triumphant return in Xenoblade 3, will he have a core crystal the shape of the conduit?
Probably.
Yeah, that's always so weird to me, because like while it's probably Alvis. I mean, that's the only person it could be at this point.
Really, it's the only explanation that makes sense.
But what's weird about it is, and I guess the thing that kind of irks me about it is it's kind of them retroactively adding that in.
I mean, they already did, in the definitive edition.
Exactly, because that core crystal, that was a definitive edition thing. They added that in. Mm. He did not have that in the original version.
Wait, hold on. Stop. Hold on. They added in a core crystal on.
Well, not
it's like a necklace.
It's a necklace. Yes.
Oh my god! They soft confirmed it.
I'm surprised I didn't notice that.
That's amazing.
Because in the original game, it was just like a key.
Yep.
And you guys were the ones who pointed it out, because I played it on the 3DS, and then I played the definitive edition. I'm like, his necklace, and you're like, yeah.
In fact, like,
they added that in.
One of the things that made Xenoblade 2 kind of crazy was because Xenoblade 1 did not have, from what I remember, the Wii version did not have any like Zohar like shapes in it.
Nope.
It wasn't until Xenoblade 2 when we saw the infamous Klaus cutscene that they panned to the Zohar in that, and that's why a lot of us freaked the hell out, because we're like, wait, what? And then when Definitive Edition came out and they showed Alvis, he had that, and that made people lose their minds again. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. That is how you tell a fucking story.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, it's kind of like just like retroactively adding it in. I'm kind of like, oh, that's what you're gonna do with this? Okay.
No. I still took it pure of heart. I'm like, oh my god.
I mean, I like it. I have mixed. I like it, but at the same time, I'm kind of just like, well, yeah, you're just retroactively throwing that in there. But that's just
it's called a retcon.
It is absolutely a retcon.
I want to jump back to Flesh Eaters real quick, because I just noticed this on the document that we're working off of here. Spoilers, we use pull the curtain back a little. We use a little document here to keep us on subject.
They know.
Oh, they know? Okay, good.
Yes.
So Petroka and Akos, like, how do you think they became flesh eaters? Like, what do you think happened to them? Did they? I don't remember in the game them ever really going
They
over
ate
it.
some hearts.
Well, because it's
They didn't
because
go over it.
yeah, because Akos. I mean, he calls Petroka his sister, but apparently their drivers were siblings, and that's why Akos refers to Petroka as his sister. But they're
Right.
yeah,
That's
but
kind of we only see one little snapshot of them, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, that's the extent of they were siblings, and they ate those drivers somehow. But of course, they didn't go into it.
Yeah, they didn't go into why they had to become flesh eaters. See, I feel like that's a massive missed opportunity with both Petroka and Akos, especially Akos, because Akos is like a pretty like major character in the early to mid game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but yeah,
And then he didn't matter anymore.
yeah, that's what it feels like. Like both of those characters kind of just got tossed to the side at the end, and get like what unceremoniously killed off by a Malthus, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just cleaning up loose ends there, eh, Takahashi?
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, well, we got a little bit better with Mikhail. I mean, even though there's that gap where he goes through some stuff that we didn't get to see, but you could kind of piece together what happened since he was the only one that's one of the few that survived the
The
incident
experiment,
on
indulgence
Torna.
experimentation, yeah.
Yeah, and he became a refugee to Praetorium, and then he probably was experimented on after that. It's not a good time for him.
And then after he became a flesh eater, after he became a blade eater, excuse me, part of the process was he lost his British accent.
Yes.
That is the only explanation. Robin has consistently brought that up on the during my playthrough, and I've come to that's the only conclusion I could come to logically, is that part of the experimentation caused Mikhail to lose his British accent.
I mean, don't most of the blades aren't they like? I don't think any of the blades have British accents.
None of them do. All of the blades have, like, I'm kind of memeing with that answer, but I'm also kind of not. And like the fuck, what was I gonna say? I kind of lost where I was going with that. So the blades don't have accents, only the humans do. But I think that once you become a blade eater, you start talking like a blade, if that makes any sense.
Well, I was going to counter that, but since
Oh no, you can't. No, you're right. You can counter that because Zeke still has his accent,
and Gort still had his accent, but he was like a failed blade eater experiment. So, and then Nia also still has her accent, even though she's a blade. So it's unless her accent is fake. No.
Nia's a flesh eater. She's not a.
Blade.
Oh wait, but
she's
yeah,
also a blade.
she's also a blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. But I think that might have been part of her disguise.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
Oh, and you know what? Dromark kind of has an accent. Sort of. Can we call that an accent?
I don't know if I would call that an accent. Really.
All right. We're not going to call that an accent.
Did they ever mention what would happen if somebody tried to eat two blades?
Oh.
No.
Like,
no, I don't think they ever did. I think that there was a concern. I think there would be a concern that if you try to become a flesh eater or a blade eater of more than one blade, that it would overload you. I mean, realistically speaking, I feel like that's what would happen. And that it wouldn't work or result in the death of the subject.
Well, isn't that basically what happens to Malthus at the end of Xenoblade 2?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he tries to take all of the blades, right? Like he just starts like overloading himself.
yet he becomes just this horrific tentacle monster.
But he
yes.
dies because
Tentacle
you kill
monster.
him.
So basically, not enough people were crazy enough to try it.
Yeah.
Or the game just didn't tell us that.
Amalthus
Which is
was crazy enough to try it, and he went
Well,
overboard.
He also
I
had
do
a
believe the
monopoly.
expression
Oh,
is fucketh about and findeth out.
What are you saying, B?
Yeah, he also had a monopoly on the blades, so
Mm-hmm.
He could try it. He did try it. No one else really could because he had them all.
He didn't know when to stop.
I always thought that was interesting how the Indoline Praetorian basically has that, so to speak, monopoly on blades, that they distribute the blades and send the blades where they want them to go. I feel like they just throw that detail out there, but they never really go into it all that much. And I feel like it would have been kind of cool to, like, as fleshed out as Xenoblade 2 is or isn't, depending on your interpretation. Like, I feel like that would have been a really cool system for them to, like, flesh out. Pun unintended that time.
Well, I was okay with how little they talked about it because it just made it emphasize how much of a butthead Amalthus was and how the Praetorium was corrupt as corrupt can be.
all right. Did we get through all the stock?
I think so.
I think so. It's going to be a shorter episode, but, like,
Yeah.
I feel like it was still an important conversation to have because, again, like you guys said in the beginning, flesh eaters and blade eaters, like, the game throws these terms at you really quick and it can be a little confusing. So just to reiterate, flesh eaters, blades that eat people, and head down an alternate branching life cycle based off of that action alone, whereas blade eaters are people that kind of bond with their blades in a unintended manner, in that they now have their people drivers with core crystals in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think we're going to see a little bit more about that in Xenoblade 3.
I think we're going to see a lot more of both flesh eaters and blade eaters in Xenoblade 3, mostly because, like, again, speculation, but Nia seems to be one of the two leaders of these warring countries, and she is a flesh eater, excuse me. She is a flesh eater. So I feel like we are going to see more of that. And maybe we'll get answers to some of the the unanswered questions that we have from Xenoblade 2 and all of this that they've clearly set up. I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really wonder how they're going to bring all of that together. I just wonder how things are going to be different post Xenoblade 2 with blades, drivers, blade eaters, flesh eaters. If it's even the same.
If it's even the same. There's a part of me that's kind of hoping it's not a continuation of Xenoblade 2, but does borrow a lot of those same concepts. Just makes a new world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the where I think they're going with it is, I think that what the plot of Xenoblade 3 is that it's a war that is resulting from the merging of the two worlds. That the high the Homs and the Hyantia believe that they were here first, and then the Titans showed up with all their people, and it's a war resulting from that. Or it could be vice versa. It could be that the Titans showed up and those people believe that they were here first, and then the Xenoblade 1 universe got pulled into uh Xenoblade 2's universe, and that's really what it is. It could just be like a big territory war, but we don't know. It's entirely speculation on my part at this point.
We
But
will next week.
that could be just what they want me to think.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, next week. I mean, as of this recording, it's
Yes.
going to be next week.
Yay.
Next week after like 50 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Next week after a minimum of 50 hours of gameplay, maybe more.
And if I don't get my copy by the day it comes out from Nintendo, I'm going out by my own. I don't care.
How funny would it be if the game was actually like 10 hours long?
Oh my god.
I would cry.
Justin,
No.
I could feel the flames of Nintendo HQ burning down from here.
Like they pull some nonsense where it's like you gotta, so it's 10 hours long, but you gotta beat the game like 5 times to get the full story.
Oh, pull some near automata crap.
Yeah.
Let's not, because I only beat that game once, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done with it.
I like that game. But this is about Xenoblade.
Yes, this is about Xenoblade.
This is about
So-
Xenoblade.
So we're pretty much done here. I guess there was one thing I think B, you mentioned in your notes. It's a small thing, but yet how I would say both flesh eaters and blade eaters have the ability to become drivers. That was
Oh yeah, that's right. I did make that. Yeah, so it didn't matter if they were a flesh eater or a blade eater. They could become a driver if they had that special something to allow them to be drivers. That's all.
All right. Does anybody have any departing words on flesh eaters and blade eaters?
Nope. I just hope that this episode successfully helped educate people more on the concept of blade eater and flesh eater and didn't confuse anyone any further than they already were.
Well said. Well said.
That can only be my hope. But if you're still confused, I understand.
If you are, just check out the Xenoblade wiki. It's pretty clear. Thank you for
Yeah.
people.
It's a fascinating concept that they introduced, and I really liked the societal stigma around flesh eaters and how it seems that flesh eaters, it's big time taboo, but there's a total double standard when it comes to blade eaters. That, you know, that no one, blade eaters, nobody bats an eye, but flesh eaters, everyone, is actively afraid of and shuns. So I thought that
Well,
was
I
like,
have a theory about that.
oh yeah, go for it.
Well, it's more like kind of like the savage dog kind of mentality where your blade is kind of like your pet and your pet turned on its master. Right?
I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so everyone fears it because it turned on its master. So that it's like, oh, it's savage, it's a beast, it's going to attack me next. That kind of mentality.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Though I would be upset with someone who like took a bite out of their dog.
That's a point well made, Tyler.
But you make a very good point, B.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on that.
I just thought the whole double standard was really interesting. It also kind of goes to further like demonstrate and illustrate how blades are not viewed as equals to drivers. And I always thought that was kind of interesting that's like a major, I feel like that's a major talking point of what Torna, the organization, seemed to be doing is that like they were trying to at one point, didn't they say they were trying to like liberate blades from people? Like,
Yep.
I thought that was interesting because I low-key agree with Jin that blades and people, society doesn't treat them as equals, and that they're blades are people. They are fully sentient beings with emotions and complex thoughts. Like, you even look at something like, or someone like Wolfric, who, is outwardly a beast, but is very internally like a good
Precious
person.
baby.
So like, they're complicated people. They are people in every aspect of the world. Just because their life cycles are different than ours doesn't mean that they're any less than us. And I thought that was really interesting, that there is like this societal, humans getting priority over blades, and blades having to be subservient to people. And I
And I
thought that
think,
was like a really
oh,
interesting topic that I feel like kind of fell to the wayside.
and to kind of add to that, it's kind of telling with how Amalthus just kind of flaunts like the core crystal that he has embedded in him, whereas like Zeke pretty much kind of hid his for a while until he like kind of gained the trust of his allies. So feels like Zeke is more, I don't know, um, I don't know where I'm going with this. Like he's more understanding or um,
Sympathetic.
that's it. Yes, thank you. Sympathetic to Blades, whereas Amalthus just like flaunts his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying.
All right. Do we have any more to add to this?
I think I'm
No, I
content
think
with
I've said
this.
everything I wanted to say on it. I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to have talked about all of this, because it was one of the things that was in Xenoblade 2 that fascinated me the most, because of how dark it all was. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm good. I think I've said everything I wanted to say on the matter. But
And I think this is a good topic to bring up too, because I'm sure myself, like many other players, I was confused. I'm like, okay, what's a blade eater again? What's a flesh eater? They're throwing that word out again. I don't know what it means. Like, I had to run through the game several times to fully understand and check the wiki, like to understand what is a flesh eater, what is a blade eater, what's the difference, why does it matter?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah. Well,
yep.
thanks for
And
joining.
also, if you haven't, I can't stress this enough. If you haven't played Torna, play Torna.
Do it. Do it. Just do
Mm-hmm.
Play
it.
Torna. That is very important. If you're confused, play Torna.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining on this discussion. I definitely think with this topic, it's good to be able to bounce ideas off of other people to kind of get it so everyone kind of has a understanding of what's going on with it. So thank you very much for joining on this episode. All right, so I guess we'll wrap up and go around and do our usual stuff. So if there's anything you're playing or doing, please plug and share. Let's start with you, Justin.
I really don't have much to talk about other than, yeah, I'm going to play Xenoblade 3 when it comes out. Hopefully, Nintendo will ship my copy on time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll see about that, but that's a problem for future me next week. Otherwise, I'm not doing a whole lot right now. That's really worth talking about. It's kind of
Uh,
slow, man.
I know you were just streaming Soccer Wars. Are you gonna be streaming any more of that?
Yes,
Or?
I do plan on playing more of that. You can catch the VODs for that. I did one massive 12-hour, I think it was either 12 hours or almost 12-hour stream of that. It was a great stream. We had a ton of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did another stream that was much shorter, and I do plan on picking that game up again along with Deadly Premonition. And I do have 2 other unannounced games that I want to stream on the channel. So
Ooh,
stay tuned for that.
nice. How about you, Anthony?
Go to Beef Furf.
Oh, okay. How about you, B?
Sure. I'm still taking my sweet time through Kirby. I thought I was at the end of it when spoiler alert, went to the ice place. And then it's like, no, there's another island. I'm like, awesome. So I'm actually going back and just collecting all the Waddle Dees because it's fun. Did come back from Anime North.
Nice.
That was kind of Southern Ontario's biggest convention for since the pandemic, but it was such a shit show and a half. It's not even funny.
Oh,
what
no.
happened?
So they were checking vaccination passports and whatnot, and when I got there on Friday, it was fine. I got through the crazy line within an hour, got my passport checked and badge, whatever. But after that, it was hours and hours in line. My brother who came, he spent 4 hours in line trying to get a badge.
Mm.
And at that time, they were closing the line down because they could not handle all the people on it. It was hot. The weekend was also as bad. People were waiting like 3-4 hours just to pick up their con badge. They couldn't get into the venue. Parking was a nightmare. They were kind of just, yeah, there was not enough staff. There was not enough security. There was apparently a huge fight on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
It was a logistical nightmare, and I mean, I've been going to that convention for 10 plus years, and I've never seen it so poorly run, so terrible, so I don't know, hot and full of people that I don't know. It was so bad. Bought some stuff, but oh, it was just it was horrible. Horrible.
That's
I'm
rough.
noticing that these cons that have been happening, they're having like their biggest turnouts. Like Anime NYC last year had like their biggest turnout. Anthony and I were at Too Many Games a few weeks back, and there was a ton of people over there.
Yeah, I played MVP that day. I'll tell you what.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, like they were saying, there was an article I just read saying that, Anime North, the people who were running it were watching some of these other cons, and they weren't having great turnouts, like lower. So like, okay, they were predicting that they were going to have a lower turnout. No, they actually had to stop sales on 2 days because that many people showed up. It was so bad, and I've seen paramedics there in the past, but I want to say this is the first time I've seen actively like paramedics going, running back and forth, picking people up on stretchers, wheeling them out into ambulance. Like it was terrible.
Yikes.
But I survived. Knock on wood. Don't have COVID. Bought some stuff, and I want to just finish up Kirby before next week so I can start my Xeno marathon.
I can't wait for you to finish Kirby so we can talk about it.
I am so close. I think I'm at the last zone. I'm in the fireplace.
Yes, you are in the last level.
Okay. Yep. I'm so glad that they brought King DDD back. Well, he should be back in all of my opinion. But anyway, yes, I will let you know ASAP when I finish it so we can just nerd out Kirby. I still love Water Balloon Kirby. Oh my gosh.
Okay, but like that new DDD theme though, it slaps. Am I right?
It's amazing.
It's
so
so
good.
good.
As soon as he picked up that pillar, I'm like, oh, I'm doing it.
Yes.
He's holding a baseball bat, and I'm a little ball, and I'm gonna get tossed around. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That game is a lot of fun. Cannot recommend that enough.
Oh yeah, and we'll save that for the Kirby podcast.
Kirby
All
Cat.
right, I'll pass it over to Anthony. Go ahead.
Okay, so just recently I beat Turnip Boy Commits Tax Fraud. No, that's a real game. I'm not kidding.
Sounds amazing.
No, it is.
It's very short. I mean, I think I housed it in 3 hours. And that was with me getting stuck trying to figure out what to do. Game is very funny. It's very memey. And I think that it's kind of funny that they took the whole concept of Yoshi commits tax fraud and then basically made a game, made it into a game. Like the game itself is a homage to a meme, and I I bought it strictly for like that reason alone, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's a fun little game. It plays well, and I would just say, like, because of how short it, I'm not normally one to say like, because like a game's length shouldn't denote its price, but like that's one where I would say like, wait for a sale on it. But even still, it is a lot of fun, and I still recommend it. I've also played this game called Last Day of June. The music was done. Well, the game was inspired by a music video by an artist I really like called Steven Wilson, and he actually was reached out to let them know that they want to do a make a video game based on his music video, and he said, I'll score the game soundtrack for you. So the game soundtrack is actually like instrumental versions of like existing songs of his. It's really well done. uh it's actually really well done, and the game is dark and it's haunting and it's sad and it's beautiful, and it's a really interesting experience. Again, very short. You could probably knock it out in 3 to 4 hours uh on your first playthrough, but totally would recommend. It's I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like it's something that people should go into blind. But yeah, it was a fun game. Um, and like everyone else, I am sitting here waiting for Xenoblade 3. I mean, oh no, I've been waiting so long for this game after completing Xenoblade 2 earlier this year. I know, I must sound like such a jerk.
No.
Like implying that like I literally just got into this series and I'm being spoiled because I don't have to wait for shit. But I'm very excited for the third game, and it's actually really exciting for me because like the second game is still really fresh in my mind, and Torna is still really fresh in my mind. Future Connected was actually the last thing I did in the Xenoblade franchise, so I am going like right into Xenoblade 3, like with all of this, like right there. I'm not gonna have to like do any like recollecting, or I don't have to watch any like you know reminder compilations or anything like that. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. And I do feel a little spoiled by the fact that I don't have to wait very long. Oh, since the last episode of XenoChat, that reminds me. Have we already like announced that basically all of us who wanted the special edition got it?
I don't think we have.
But we did just
We got
now.
it.
But we did
Yeah.
just
Got
now,
it.
yeah. We when it was looking like it was going to be another total shit show for a few hours there.
Oh, it was
Um,
for a few hours.
and it was like it started off like deja vu. I felt like I felt like it was what was it? June 8th all over again. But we all got through. My friend was actually able to secure a few extra copies for people who wanted them, all at MSRP, of course. But yeah, we just wanted to make sure that everyone in the community, in our immediate community, who wanted one could get one, and we were able to successfully achieve that goal. So we're all
They
really
charged my
happy about
credit card. It's official. It was on my credit card statement.
that. Of course. And then you get an email with Wario in it going, "You want Xenoblade 3? Too bad, Wario time." I'm so excited for it. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing, and I'm really excited to play Xenoblade 3. I will be streaming it on Retro Roulette. I don't expect anyone to watch. No one. But I
If
figured
you
that
give me the link, I'll watch it.
okay. I mean, as long as you don't care about spoilers.
Oh, I love spoilers.
All right. Well then I'll send you the link, and it'll be me and B experiencing Xenoblade 3 together.
That's right.
I'll put a link in the notes just in case anyone else wants to check it out.
Sounds good to me. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome. As for me, I've just been playing AI, the Somnium Files Nirvana initiative, which has been really good. I wasn't certain at first because they made a lot of, I don't know, maybe too many throwbacks to the first game at first, but now that the mystery keeps developing, I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was. So it's been good. It's been I'm trying to beat it before I Xenoblade 3 next week, but we'll see if I succeed. But that's all I'm up to, really. Besides, waiting for Xenoblade 3 like everyone else.
Yeah, and I hate it because there's so many games coming out in just these next couple weeks.
Right?
Live Alive is this weekend.
Right?
Next week we got Xenoblade and Digimon Survive.
Oof.
And then Stray just came out today. It's bad. Yeah. And then the Klonoa collection just came out, and I've been playing that. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. So this is not related to anything, but Bayonetta 3 in October. Woo!
And that's coming in October. And then there's a trailer for Trails from Zero today. Pokemon later on the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But, like for me, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak dropped, and I haven't been able to touch it because I've been drowning in other games. And that's arguably something I was like really excited for this year. So I feel you there. Like, I also really do want to try Live Alive because you have even like well before the was a twinkle in Square Enix's eye. You were telling me about that game and how amazing it is. So
I love the demo, so I definitely want to pick it up.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool game, and I'm so glad that people are going to be able to play it because there's really nothing else quite like it out there.
All right. Let's see. So as far as our episodes go, we just released our Unearthed Xenosaga Villains episode. So that should be the one that came out just before this episode. As for the future, I know we have some ideas, but one of which is our 4-year anniversary is coming up in August. It's either 28th or 29th. But that'll be our 4-year anniversary, and we're planning on having another quiz game episode. So
see if I can be dethroned.
Yes. But yeah, it should be fun. The last quiz episode was really, really fun. So we'll have some returning people along as some new challengers. So watch out for that at the end of August.
All right.
And that'll be another year of XenoChat.
Yeah. It's an honor to be here, by the way. I really love being able to talk about these games with people. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm happy this podcast is here.
Especially like you guys get me if I go, in my own life, talk to my other buddies. Hey, have you heard of Xenoblade? They're like, oh, what? I'm like, you guys suck. So it's great to have this community to share my nerdom with.
Well, thanks guys for joining us.
Tyler, you mentioned the the Unearthed Xenosaga Villains episode, and I was there for that. I remember.
Yeah, you were.
I was listening. I was like listening to it being recorded live because it was before we had Zencaster, and I was there when Justin said, "Oh no, my audio."
I wasn't going to call out Justin.
And we spent like 3 hours trying to help him get it back. Oh man.
Yep. But both those episodes should have been recovered.
Yes.
Yep, they've been recovered.
Yep. All the villain episodes are available, so listeners, check them out if you'd like. But yeah, thanks for everyone for joining us with this discussion tonight, and thanks for everyone listening, and have a good night.
Good night.
save the game?
Thank you,
Fancy.
Betsy. My wife just brought me dinner.
Okay.
And now it's an ASMR stream.
What was I going to say? I had something to say and I completely forgot it. I got distracted by Anthony's munching.
Please.
I'm not sorry. This is delicious. I'll turn my mic off while I'm eating.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That'll help me a lot.
Oh, okay. I know what I was going to say. So,
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
We will be able to will be able to be dethroned. Sorry, that was really hard for me to say.
Okay, good job!
Bye-bye, everybody.